It looks nice because it's you and your grandfather's right behind.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good
It's a
because
nice shot.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
You know, I'm one of the lucky cousins because so many of them don't remember, and I live next door to him.
Right.
And so I'm so lucky. I guess the first 9 of us remember Papa, but then the other 30 don't.
Was it like 36 when he passed away?
No, 38.
It was 38, yeah. So you are lucky.
Yeah, I really am so lucky just to live next door to him, and you know, he was Papa.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
ready?
Yep.
We're deeply honored today to have as our guest again Betty Vandiver, the former First Lady of Georgia and wife of Ernest Vandiver, who was Georgia's governor. The last time we visited Ms. Vandiver, you were preparing for a Russell family reunion.
That's right, and it happens every year. It's just kind of like Christmas. It comes in June. It comes on the weekend the closest to Grandmother and Papa's anniversary, which is June the 24th. So sometimes it's an early Saturday and sometimes it's late Saturday. But everybody can plan, and if you're not there, then you didn't plan because you know when it's going to be and you're supposed to be there. So my sister-in-law and I, we always have a lasagna supper on Thursday night, and we feed about 100, 115 people at Betty Ann's house. And that's fun because it takes a while to get it all made, and I make the lasagna, she makes the salad, I bring the bread, and she has the desserts. I mean, we've been doing it so long, it's just set in concrete. So anyway, that's the beginning of the Russell reunion, and it goes on until Sunday morning when Uncle Fielding Russell, his family has a blueberry pancake breakfast, and everybody comes by and gets sausage and blueberries and leave from Grandmama's house to go home. So I mean, it's just a wonderful time, and we enjoyed. And last year, I think we had like 212 or 15 people on Saturday, which is when most of the people can come. But we have that lasagna supper kind of for the out-of-town people that come early, but then it's kind of grown from that. So anyway, that's a good idea. But the first one, I don't remember exactly. I don't remember the first one, but I have a picture that with my other grandmother and grandfather in it, and I'm about 2 years old, so I'm between grandparents, and it was wonderful growing up with all grandparents in town. But I remember the one in 36, and then in 47, when after the war, and you have to remember, this is something I think is so wonderful, Grandmother Russell had 7 stars in her windows. And for those who don't know about the stars, it meant somebody in her family was in service. And luckily, and I think it's due to Grandmama's prayers, they all came home safe and sound. And so that was at the first reunion after the war, was in 47. And Ernie and I were getting married on Wednesday, the 3rd of September. And so the Aunt Billy, who was the big boss, Bill, she got up the reunion for 47 because everybody was home from the service. They had, so, and then Betty and Ernie were getting married, so everybody had to come anyway. So we had a reunion in 47 on Monday before Ernie and I married. And he always said he met 100 Russells, and that's about how many were there in 47. Mm-hmm. And of course now it's gotten over to 200 on Saturday. But anyway, that was the next reunion, and then since then we have had one every year. That just kind of started it. And so now they come from far and wide, and we have that Russell reunion. And each family takes a service on Saturday morning at the cemetery. Every family is in charge. It started with Aunt Billy's, the Green family, and it goes down to the Ellick Russell family. And so every Saturday, one family will be in charge of a memorial service. Mm-hmm. And that's when we talk about, well, whatever you want to talk about. And we name the people who graduated from college. They get up and tell them where they graduated from, what they hope to do. New babies are introduced. Now, I got one introduced last year, my first great-grandchild, and they introduced her, and they have the high school graduations, college graduations, new jobs, babies, weddings, and you know, people don't bring just anybody to the reunion. You have to be pretty serious to bring somebody to the reunion and introduce them to all these people, because if you come back next year with somebody else, that's not the way we do it now. You bring the one. When I know Elizabeth Kidd, she just wouldn't bring any of her boyfriends ever until she met Matt, and then Matt came to the first reunion with her. So it's nice. We love it, and everybody seems to enjoy the reunion.
Everybody knows or has heard of or somehow has encountered the name of Senator Dick Russell. But the Russells, as a family, was a very unique and talented group of Georgians. Tell us a little about some of the other Russells.
Oh gosh, don't get me started, because I loved all of them. And see, I was lucky to live next door to Grandmother and Papa. And I was there before the young boys, as my mama used to call them, got married. So therefore, I knew them as bachelors and women who had not married, because they were my aunts and uncle next door. And they would come home to see Grandmama and Papa so often. I've said one time I've never felt such love as I did at that time, because we were some of the only grandchildren. See, like I said, they had 13 the first batch, but I was about 5th down, and I was next door. And all those aunts and uncles just made me feel so loved, and I loved all of them. Now, let's see, we could go down. Uncle Gordon Green, who married Aunt Billy, he was an inventor, and he was in World War I. He invented guns. He invented the machine that makes the M16 keep firing. And of course, that's so long ago now. But he invented things like that all along. Uncle Jim was with the bank, and that's a cute story. He had a stub of a finger, and I don't know how it ever happened, but he said he did it counting money, because he'd been with the bank for so long. And then, of course, let's see, you go down, and Uncle Walter was real big in the A&P, back when A&P was a grocery store. And so was Uncle Bill, as a matter of fact. But he came home when Papa died and Grandmother was alone. He came home and started farming. And Uncle Bill was just he was the one that was always there. And Uncle Jeb was a Presbyterian preacher and ended up being the preacher in the second largest Presbyterian church in America. And that was it, out in Memphis. And Uncle Jeb was he was such a precious person. And Uncle Fielding and Uncle Bill were twins. And you have spoken about Uncle Fielding. Well, Uncle Fielding started at Georgia when it was Georgia's Teachers College. He and Aunt Virginia married in 31, I think 31 or 2, and I was in their wedding. But they were at Statesboro, and they stayed in Statesboro. And Aunt Virginia just died 2 years ago. Uncle Fielding died, but now the big student union down there is named for Uncle Fielding. And Uncle Elliot was a doctor in Barrow County just forever and ever. And these are the men who went to war, too. Uncle Elliot was in the Battle of the Bulge. He was behind the lines at times, and he was a medical officer, of course. So he had some horrible experiences. And, of course, they all had children that have done well. Aunt Carolyn was a teacher forever and married a Presbyterian preacher. And so everybody had children except Aunt Anna, Uncle Dick, and Aunt Harriet. So you can imagine what we've got on hand now. We've got hundreds, and lots of them are little bitty children, and you can almost tell which family they're from because they all look like their parent. It's really amazing to me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we still do that every year, and it's just fun, wonderful. I don't know whether you know something about any of the rest of them that you want me to talk about. They were all just so, I loved all of them because they all loved me. I'll put it that way. Excuse me.
You mentioned to me that you had a special place in your heart for some of Governor Vandiver's friends.
Oh, I did. Well, and more than friends, because all those friends know who they are, and they're all gone now. That's what's so sad. But the people that I held so dear is because at the mansion, the people who helped me personally, and of course you know all those people that I'm talking about that were Ernie's friends. They were his friends in college, all the way through his political career. Those same people, and I hate to start naming names with that bunch because there were about, I guess 14, 15, 16 of them, and they paid his entrance fee. Every time he ran for anything, they took it up and did it and just paid for it. So it was, I hate to bring those up, but the ones at the mansion that meant so much to me, we had Fanny Smith. Now Fanny came with me when my second child was born. She spent her Christmas one time with my children because my grandfather had died, not Grandfather Russell, but Grandfather Millsaps. And she came over and left her family and came and kept Chip and Beth so that I could go to Winder and be with the family. Well, there's nothing like friendship like that and love, you know. So when we went to the mansion, I called Fanny. I said, Fanny, I can't do it without you. You've just got to come take care of my children. So she did. She, back then we didn't have help as such. We had a man in the kitchen that was a prisoner, and David Walker was one of my best friends. But he was carried back to prison every night. But he came in and he fixed meals. But David Walker was my right arm, and Fanny Smith was both arms. And I was fortunate in that my mother and Ernie's sister were both, I'm not fortunate that they were widows, but they were, and they could come and stay at the mansion and when I was gone with Ernie. So that was wonderful to have them. And then T.A. Smith and Ben Gall, they drove Ernie from the time he was lieutenant governor, or running for lieutenant governor, and they were with us when we left the mansion. And those are the kind of people we had troopers out in the back, and I love all of them, but it wasn't the same as Ben Gall and T.A. Smith and Fanny. Oh, dear Fanny. We're still in touch with her children. Of course, she's gone. But those are the people that really made it possible for me to do what I could do to help Ernie. And without good help with the children, I never would have gone out the door, because Ernie and I, that's not the way we worked. So those are the people that just mean so much to me. And I miss them all because they were all so dear.
Let me tell you a story.
Please.
When Governor Sanders was inaugurated, of course he followed Governor Vandiver, T.A. Smith and I walked out of the Capitol with Governor Vandiver carrying some boxes that he had, was his final, when he left the governor's office for the last time. I'll never forget that.
I didn't know that, Bob, and I wondered now what was in those boxes. It probably just cleared out his desk, just things that were in the drawer, but wouldn't that be interesting to have that box? Well, T.A. was a wonderful person, and I can remember when Ernie and I were campaigning and just the two of us in a car, and T.A. was in the GBI at that time, and he would meet us at just various places over Georgia and just tell us what was going on, and he would tell us what he's heard and so forth. And I know he one time, well, I guess this is all right. One time he brought Ernie a gun, a pistol, and he said, I think you need to have this with you. And we carried that pistol with us in the briefcase or under the seat or somewhere. I didn't know why we needed it, but T.A. thought we might need it.
Well, you got cheated. You didn't get to live in the new mansion.
Well, I don't call it cheating because except for all that help, they got 26 people out there as a staff now. I could have used about half of them at some time or other. But it's a beautiful place. I did get to spend the night there one night. Roy Bonds invited us to spend the night. And we stayed in the presidential suite, and it was wonderful. I loved the family part upstairs, but I don't feel cheated. We love that old house.
Leaked.
Well, they said that, but I don't ever remember it actually leaking. I can remember them coming out and fixing the roof, but I don't remember where it did. Now, when grandmother, that's an interesting story. Here I go. Grandmother Russell was Uncle Dick's hostess, and she lived at the mansion and took care of the mansion. She took the back room and put up double-decker iron cots. I can just remember them right now. And that was for grandchildren to come on in the summer, just like any other grandmother. And that we took that room and made a playroom for our children out of it. Painted it blue, and we called it the Blue Room, and it was up there, and it was a nice, wonderful place for them to be and to have their little TV and their games, and the children came and visited. And I can see right now they always used to turn the furniture over and have we'd make like it was tunnels, and then they'd jump over it and make like it was horse jumps. So, I mean, I don't think my children suffered at all.
How was it raising children in the Capitol? I mean, in the mansion. You had school, did you carpool?
Oh, I carpooled, and I had some of the best friends, and we took our children. I took my children. I was not going to have State Patrol do it. I mean, but anyway, I took my children every morning, and I picked them. Well, in the afternoon, you know, it's hard to believe, but you could let them walk home from Spring Street to the mansion, stop at the drugstore, have a Coca-Cola or an ice cream cone or something, and then come on home. Now, that's how innocent and something or other that Atlanta was at that time. You didn't worry about your children. Only rule was they had to be home by 5 o'clock because the traffic started getting really bad around the Prado. If you know the Prado, it's just circles all over the place. But they had to be home by 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And that was just like living in Livonia.
Did you miss living in the mansion when you returned to Livonia?
No, not really. Fannie Smith didn't go with me. That was one of, but no, I didn't. Ernie and I were both glad, resigned. I do wish that Ernie had had that another 4 years, which came on later, because he did have things that he wanted to do and say and finish that he didn't get to do because he couldn't succeed himself.
Mm-hmm. Well, during his administration, some historical events took all his time.
They did, and but you know, we still had a really, I'd say 3 out of 7 nights we had, maybe more than that, I guess, 4 or 5 nights, we had supper together, because he kind of planned to be home for supper, and then he would go to a meeting or have Ben come in, and they'd go upstairs to the den and talk about the problem. So he was home a lot at night that I don't think they get to do that well now. Mm-hmm. But he was always there, and David was in the kitchen. Now you can't almost ask for anything better.
Okay. Well, your daughter, Jane Kidd, is chairman of the Georgia Democratic Party.
That's right.
I bet you're very proud of her.
I am very proud of her. I know her daddy would be proud of her. And he was alive when she was in the House of Representatives. And of course, he kept up with everything, and they talked every night, just because he was putting his finger back in the pie, and it was wonderful for him. Well, of course, I'm proud of all my children, and whatever they do, they seem to do well, and I'm just as happy as everything. Well,
we've enjoyed talking with you, and I hope you'll promise to come back again when we can spend some more time together.
Well, you know, I'm never out of words. I will talk with you. It may not be, I'll be glad to talk to you, Bobby, anytime.
Thank you.